Some nights change your life before you even realize you've stepped into them. This night began with the sound of champagne flutes and candlelight, but it would end months later with a truth so devastating, I can still feel it pressing against my ribs when I try to sleep. If I had known then what I know now, I might have run from the first hello. But love has a way of blinding you, especially when it's dressed in a tailored suit and holding out its hand like you're the only person in the world worth catching. Ryan Parker had booked the most beautiful rooftop restaurant in the city, the kind of place that made the skyline look like it was dusted with diamonds. Before we left, he told me, "Lily, tonight's special, dress like you're walking into a dream." I'd spent nearly an hour spinning in front of my closet before the red silk dress practically leapt into my arms. The sweetheart neckline, the way the fabric hugged me, it made me stand taller even before the heels went on. By the time I stepped out of the ride share, Ryan's eyes had turned the color of the sunset. His smile made the rest of the world fade. Dinner was everything, the Pinot Noir, the music, the way Ryan couldn't stop touching my hand. But just when I thought the night couldn't possibly get any better, the string quartet shifted into a syrupy Vivaldi piece and a waiter appeared with a massive bouquet that nearly swallowed me whole. While I inhaled the scent of roses and lilies, Ryan pushed back his chair, dropped to one knee, and pulled out a velvet box. The diamond inside caught the light from every candle, scattering it like fireworks across the table. Tears burned my eyes, my heart pounding as I whispered yes before he even finished the question. The restaurant erupted in applause. We'd only been dating 2 years, but it felt like we'd been orbiting each other for a lifetime. Ryan had grown up in comfort, I'd grown up in foster homes, learning to live without expectations. His parents, Diane and Tom, welcomed me without hesitation. Diane fussed over me like she'd been waiting her whole life for a daughter. Tom carried my suitcase like it was filled with glass angels. They paid for our wedding without blinking. Diane even bought me a gown that cost more than any car I'd ever owned. The wedding was perfect, ugly vows, flower petals raining down the church steps, my new last name echoing in my ears like a promise I never thought I'd get to keep. Our honeymoon was a blur of Mediterranean sunrises and whispered promises about starting a family. We tried, but nothing happened. Still, we believed it would, in time. When we returned home, Ryan told me about a family tradition. Newlyweds would live with his parents so the house could teach you its secrets. I'd never had a real family dinner table, so the idea sounded warm and safe. Tom picked us up from the airport, wrapped us in bear hugs, and Diane had a pot roast waiting when we walked in. Ryan's job in corporate logistics pulled him away more often than I liked, but I was never lonely, at least, not at first. Tom was attentive in that friendly father-in-law way, always bringing fresh flowers for Diane and me, slipping in side hugs, tossing out proud dad jokes. Diane bragged about his kindness to strangers. I wanted to believe it. Then December came, all snow and tinsel. Diane stayed home from most holiday events, but Tom seemed to be everywhere, his calendar full. One night, he kissed Diane's forehead, told her he'd be home late, and left in a cloud of aftershave. The next morning, he left again while Diane nursed a migraine. I tucked her into bed, made tea, and spent the day cleaning. That night, I showered, slipped into my silk nightgown, and FaceTimed Ryan. His sleepy "I love you" carried me into dreams until a hand slid across my hip. My smile froze. Whiskey breath filled my ear. I opened my eyes to see Tom Parker's face. My heart lurched into my throat as his palm clamped over my mouth. I fought. God, I fought. But years of strength in his arms pinned me like I weighed nothing. And then, as suddenly as it started, he was gone, patting my thigh like a stranger tipping a waitress before walking down the hall to his wife. I curled into myself and cried until I had no voice. The next days blurred. I avoided meals, locking myself in the guest room, only leaving when Diane was alone. Tom whistled in the hall like nothing had happened. When Ryan finally came home, I fell into his arms and lied, saying my tears were from missing him. But the nausea that followed wouldn't leave. A test turned positive. Ryan's joy filled the room, but I could barely breathe. At dinner, I saw Tom's eyes when the news reached him, a flicker of fear before he forced a smile. I begged Ryan to move, but tradition was a wall I couldn't climb. Pregnancy dragged me through exhaustion and despair. When our daughter was born, The nurses cooed about her hazel green eyes exactly like Tom's. I bit my lip so hard I tasted blood. I held the truth inside until it began to crush me. One dawn, I left Ryan a letter, spilling everything. His rage was volcanic. He confronted Tom, fists flying. Diane filed for divorce the same day. But Tom blamed the baby. And when he refused to care for her, she was placed in state custody. I write this now from a motel 2 counties away, 6 months into clawing myself back from the edge. Yesterday, for the first time, I imagined holding my daughter without seeing Tom's shadow behind her. Maybe someday I'll fight to bring her home. For now, I rebuild, minute by minute, heartbeat by heartbeat. Because silence may be safer, but truth, no matter how scorched, still keeps the lies from winning. If you've listened this far, maybe you're carrying your own quiet war. Let this be proof that telling your story can keep you alive. You deserve love that never wears someone else's face.